What up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about my rewatch of the Resurrection of F arc in Dragon Ball Super and how I felt about it this time. I'm going to be talking about a couple of things. One, did I like the arc? Two, how did I like the arc compared to the movie? Three, how much different was this arc compared to the movie? And four, was it necessary? Because when first the Battle of Gods and the Resurrection of F movie were stated to be getting remade into the anime, a lot of people didn't like that. They thought it was no need for it and it was kind of pointless. And even though I really liked the Battle of Gods arc, because I like the movie in general, I felt like the arc did have enough stuff to make it reasonable for why they redid it. Because if you're gonna redo something, I feel like you should make it at least different than the original and add something new and explain more than the movie couldn't, because movies runtime are a lot shorter. They're like around an hour and 30 minutes to at most 2 hours when it comes to like more anime films. So the amount of stuff they can show and explain will be far more limited than the anime. So that's what's really what I really like to judge when I watch these like remakes of stuff, because it's not fair to say, well, it's bad because we've already seen this. That's kind of a lazy way to look at it. I think it's best to just take our biases out and just look at it as under an objective lens and see what they did with this version. Was it necessary? Because if it's not necessary, then obviously then it's pointless. But if it's something different or they add something more, then it does matter. Now, for rewatching this, I'm gonna be honest, it's weird because I have two feelings. On one hand, I do think it was better than when I originally watched it, but also on the other hand, it is just as bad as I remember. So, was this arc good? No, it was actually pretty bad. I think the Battle of Gods arc, which before even the first time when I watched it, I enjoyed it and I still enjoyed it. Rewatching it again, I really enjoyed that arc. There was just some stuff I didn't like, but pretty much it was the same thing as like last time. And it's kind of the same thing for Resurrection of F, where the things the whole arc as a whole, I didn't really like it, and I thought it was kind of dumb. And the problems that I had with it before were the same, except for a few things. There's a few things that I thought I had more of a problem with, but I didn't. For example, the art and the animation. I know a lot of people say, well, the art and the animation was horrible in this arc, and it was, but it also wasn't as bad, surprisingly, because there was a lot of moments where the character designs didn't look too bad. For example, when they were fighting against Frieza's force, that fight actually didn't look too bad. The transformations and them stand there, it all looked pretty clean. Even when Goku and Frieza were fighting, except for the first fight, when they were fighting in base, when Goku's in his base form and Frieza was in just his regular final form, it kind of looked a little wonky. The body parts didn't look like drawn correctly, like the arms and stuff was disjointed. The body size was a little weird. It just looked out of place, but it wasn't as bad as I remembered it. And when it came to the fight between Super Saiyan Blue Goku versus Golden Frieza, in the beginning it was actually pretty good looking. It looked like something that you would see in a movie until like after this big beam struggle between Goku and Frieza. After that, for some reason, the animation and art quality went down to shit. It started moving wonky. The bodies were weirdly floating in air. It felt like they had no weight behind their movements while they're flying. Usually when they do it, you feel the power that resonates from their flying, and the speed and the amount of energy they can generate. But in this one, it felt like they were like balloons. It felt like they had balloon bodies and they were bumping into each other a little, and then they were floating away. And then they were like, I don't know, it was just weird. I don't even know how to explain it. It was like some weird ass, if you go on like, there's some editing software on computer, you can find like this ragdoll effect. It kind of had like, they had like a ragdoll effect on like the editing softwares, or like digital softwares or whatever, but it looked really bad. The fighting didn't look good. I was like, what the hell? At first it was actually pretty decent, but then after a while it just looked weird. So yeah, I will admit that this arc wasn't as well, at least for the art style, it wasn't as bad. The writing still was. I will get into that, but like the art and the animation is one of those things that really turned a lot of people off for Dragon Ball Super because of how bad it looked, and I can't blame them. It does look atrocious a lot of times, but I do also think that a lot of the fans kind of over-exaggerated it, and when I watched it the first time, I also felt the same. I was like, yeah, this is awful, but now rewatching, I'm like, well, this arc wasn't that long, and it only had a few parts here and there that was bad, though they were really bad. A lot of it wasn't, but then again, a lot of this arc was basically no real fighting. the start of it was just them leading up to Frieza coming, so obviously they don't need to have top tier quality, which is like I would rather prefer bad quality when they're just talking than when they're fighting, because the fighting is more important when it comes to the look of things, right? But prior to that, there was a lot of talking. There was nothing weird looking bad. Even with the fight between the Z Fighters versus Frieza's Force, it actually looked pretty decently animated, and also a bit of when Goku's Super Saiyan Blue Goku was versus Golden Frieza. Though Goku versus Frieza when they're in their like base and final form, that looked horrible. I don't know what the fuck they were doing. Like the body looks out of place. They keep on doing just spamming ki blasts, which I know they did that quite a bit in the original, but they didn't do it to this extent. Sorry for the weird jump cut. My battery died. So I forgot what I was on about again. But like I was saying, the art didn't look as bad as I remember. And I think people were over-exaggerating. But then again, it wasn't too much fighting, which obviously the art should look good in the fighting. But prior to that, the talking and stuff, everything looked good. The fight between the Frieza's army looked good. The beginning of Golden Frieza versus Super Saiyan Blue Goku look good, but the problem with that is, if I'm being honest, is we don't care about the Z Fighters versus the Frieza Force fight, because that fight doesn't really mean anything. It's the background characters versus a bunch of weak chumps and underlings. Like, why should I care about how good that looks? It should be the main fight that looks good. Even when Vegeta was fighting against Frieza, it didn't look that good. The fight itself, actually, I like the choreography for that fight, but I just didn't like the way they did the animation of it and the art. It just didn't look like it flowed very well. The animation is also a problem. I mentioned the fact that the art is different than the animation, and that's what a lot of people get wrong. They keep on saying the animation is bad, the animation is bad. It's like, no, it's the art that is bad. But the animation is also bad because it's not moving fluid. It looks weird and wonky. The physics don't look right. It doesn't look like they're hitting them that hard. When Goku and Frieza are punching each other with the amount of power that they have, it doesn't look like they're hitting with the amount of power that we've seen. Like prior to that, we saw in Battle God's Arc, they were destroying the universe, and I know that now that they control their power, so it's not going to show that universal level of power, but still, in my eyes, I feel like the way they conveyed it through the way they were showing it in the fights, it didn't look like they were hitting hard. I just couldn't believe that they were hitting hard. It didn't look well. The animation was horrible. So I will say the art is bad, but it wasn't as bad because it wasn't throughout the entire thing. But it was in mostly fighting throughout the entire thing, so that doesn't really matter. Now, the story writing itself, was it necessary? Hell no. This arc did basically, it recopied the movie verbatim with just small changes. It kind of reminds me of recently how we had the Dragon Ball superhero manga version of the movie, and the manga version had minor differences here and there. It was like, is this really justified to redo this all over again, or if you're just going to copy the almost exact same thing with just minor changes here and there? I would say no. Whereas in Battle of Gods, yes, obviously you're going to keep the main story and a lot of the plot details and points kept the same. Obviously, I'm not expecting you to change that, but if you're going to change some stuff, change the setting, change the design, change some rearrangements of the story and the look. The only changes we really saw was the fact that in the original, Frieza killed Togomo when he was talking shit, and he got replaced with this Red Devil guy who was the big threat from his henchmen, who was able to fight Piccolo. Whereas in this one, he blasts him, but he doesn't kill him. He just tortures him and then uses him as a sparring partner, and he becomes a strong one, and he ends up killing the other guy, which I think his name was Shisam or something like that. I don't know why he even killed him in this one. It was kind of stupid. He was just saying, I'm ruthless. I think, yeah, but that was unnecessary. Like, it was just dumb, but whatever. That was the only real change. They also explained a little bit about how Frieza got stronger, which that is good, but then the explanation they gave us was pretty ass. It was just, he used this guy as a sparring partner, or a punching bag, more like it, more or less than a sparring partner. He used him as a punching bag for 4 months straight. Wow. That's some great way to increase your power exponentially. So he's got so strong within not only just in 4 months, but also by beating his subordinate, who is obviously way weaker than him, for 4 months straight. How does that make him that strong? I feel like that was an ass explanation for how he got his power, because when characters get insane power boost, obviously it's going to be through training, and you're going to have to explain why the training was so significant. Why did it give him such a significant boost? And if you give such a lazy or ass, training reasoning where it's like, oh, he just beat his subordinate and used him as a punching bag for 4 months. I'm like, yeah, that's not believable that he would get that strong from something that stupid. Like, if Goku was to do that, beat the shit out of Tagoma for 4 months straight, he wouldn't get any real power up. He would barely be any stronger. So why the fuck is this guy getting stronger from just punching the shit out of his subordinate and that much stronger? It just sounds dumb. At that point, it's like, well, before when the Resurrection of F movie came out, I was like, why did he get stronger? They should explain through his training. And then they did it, and they did it in the most ass way, and I felt like, you know what? You might as well have just left it as a mystery and let it for a headcanon to be like, maybe he did this or that, than to actually explain it and that be the explanation. Because that's a terrible explanation. I think the way they did it recently with the whole Black Frieza thing where he wanted a dimension, he trained for 10 years straight, that is a far significantly better explanation for his power jump than just him going to another dimension for 4 months and just beating up on his guy. And also, if you're going to say the dimension, say it's like something special. But then we also had Goku and Vegeta training in another dimension, which they stated something that was kind of a little confusing because in there, they couldn't move because they were letting their ki leak out, and it explained that the way that you have God ki is to control your ki by suppressing it within your body. So you raise it up instead of let it leak out and have the energy flow out of your body. You have the energy flow within your body, and that thus it converts it from regular ki to godly ki. And they were in this dimension and they were letting their energy leak out. But once when Vegeta learned to bring it right back into his body, sucked it in, he was like, I can move. And then he's like, so this is what God Ki feels like. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean this is what God Ki feels like? You could literally sense Goku earlier, and it was stated that you trained to obtain Super Saiyan God, which has God Ki. So you would have known how God Ki feels like. I don't know why they do this. This is so dumb. It makes it confusing, and it keeps on going back to the square one. We already saw Goku obtaining Super Saiyan God, and then Vegeta surpassed it, or obtained it by training, and we know he surpassed it when Goku first comes. He says, oh, Vegeta, you're even stronger than me. And you even say that Vegeta is able to sense God Ki. So clearly him, and especially Goku, have gone through God Ki, so why is he surprised about God Ki? Statements like that just makes the writing sound dumb. It's like, what the fuck do they mean by that? He obviously had it. So it's either it's just dumb writing, or it contradicts what happened previously. So now we're supposed to believe that, wait, did they not have God Ki? So it's just dumb. Also, the explanation for the ideology on how to obtain God Ki is so stupid. I made a whole video talking about this, but since I'm talking about this arc again, and this was prevalent throughout this arc, and explaining God Ki, it's just lazy. Once again, with like Frieza, how he got powerful, they had a stupid explanation of he punched his subordinate and beat the shit out of him for 4 months straight, so he got so powerful, which was dumb. Now they're explaining God Ki in the most simplistic and idiotic way. You're telling me that it's that simple that all you have to do is keep it within you? Okay, if it's that simple, then why is it so hard to obtain God Ki? Why is God Ki so special? God Ki shouldn't be special if it's that easy. It's just regular Ki condensed within your body. That's not anything special. You would have thought that God Ki would be some divine energy that's far detached and different, but it's just the same thing, just converted within yourself, which is a lazy concept. And I think it's one of those basic concepts that Toriyama thinks is very clever, but it's not. It's just dumb. It ruins the godly transformations because it makes it sound basic. And now it makes Goku and Vegeta sound like idiots because it's like, well, of all of that, that was all it took to obtain it. Why was Goku and Vegeta not knowing this? Because we know Goku and Vegeta are smart when it comes to fighting. They're tactical geniuses, especially Goku with the whole Master Super Saiyan thing. They know to control their ki control. So you're telling me that these guys that have been fighting for this long, that are this smart when it comes to fighting, that have been this proficient with their abilities, didn't even think a little bit that maybe we should try to keep the ki within our body instead of letting it leak out at one point in their career. They needed somebody else to teach them that or tell them that. I just don't believe it. It doesn't make sense to me that somebody as like a prodigy like Goku and Vegeta that are geniuses of fighting wouldn't think of something that fucking simple to gain that much insane amount of power. And then also let's say, okay, they didn't know, whatever. Then why aren't the other characters doing this? Clearly that means that the Super Saiyan God form or whatever, it's not just special or unique to, Saiyans. It's just that one is. But any other person can get God Ki as long as they know how to keep it within their body. So technically, Piccolo, Gohan, and the rest of the Z Fighters should be obtaining higher levels of power and could get godly energy by doing so. But they don't do it. I don't know why. Because if you want to make the other side characters have more of a prevalence in the story and make a reason why they can fight, instead of trying to, shoehorn in some weak ass other characters that are what the big main villains, so you can give these guys a chance, or just give them ridiculous power boosts like, oh, they just start training a little and they got strong enough to handle these guys that should be universal level threats. Maybe you could just do it where it's like they're taught that, hey, if you want to obtain God Ki and want to get stronger, you can keep it within inside yourself. So they can either train by themselves and obtain somewhat of that power, or train with Whis and he helps out the rest of them. I don't know why at least Piccolo and Gohan doesn't do it. And like I said, I stated before that in my other videos that I don't have a problem with Gohan getting a new transformation, getting stronger, him and Piccolo and him getting his beast form. The only problem I have is with the way they did it. They just had him get angry and he got a jump in power. Even though he was so weak that he couldn't even sense Piccolo's energy. I don't get how you're going to be that weak and then go to that power. It just doesn't make any sense. And talking about Gohan, I'm going to get into that too, about his writing, how they fucked that up. But if they were going to do that, they could have just done it where he was taught how to use God Ki, which was just be simply trapping the Ki within his body. If he did that, then Gohan could have gotten God Ki himself, and then if he got the beast form, it could have just been like, well, he has the ultimate power, the mystic power, mixed in with the God Ki, which makes him a little bit more special and different than Goku and Vegeta. So that two different things combined and then created that. Because Super Saiyan Blue is just Super Saiyan with God Ki. Whereas Gohan's beast form could have been his mystic form, which is just, him not having to transform to Super Saiyan, mixed in with God Ki, which would have unlocked the beast form, and it would have been perfectly fine, and it would have been cool, and now we would have had a godly being. Because if you're going to have Goku and Vegeta obtain godly power, you need the other beings, they're going to beat them, to also have some godly power, so it makes sense and it makes the God Ki look cool. Because if they get beaten up or challenged by people with regular Ki, and it kind of looks stupid and it looks kind of lame. Because now it's like, oh, it's supposed to be high level divinity, but it can be surpassed by regular Ki. Also, that makes sense why Frieza was able to surpass Goku and Vegeta, because in the end of the day, what a God Ki is just regular Ki condensed within their body or trapped within their body. Thus, it increases their power. So Frieza or somebody with higher levels of Ki above God Ki, what it will happen is, let's say there's somebody that has a power level of 500 or 100, and then they condense that energy within their body, and then by doing so, it turns into God Ki, and God Ki is, let's just say, argumentatively a 10 times multiplier. So if they absorb the 100% of their the power level of 100 within their body, it will transform into God Ki, which will multiply by 10, which will make it to 1,000. So their power level will be 1,000. So it gives it an exponential growth. Now you can still surpass that with regular Ki. It's just going to require more regular Ki than God Ki, because God Ki is just, it can take even a smaller amount and condense it and then increase it more. So let's say, like I said, he has 100, he condenses it with his body, it multiplies by 10, it gets to 1,000. Then you have somebody with regular Ki who has 2,000. So he's already 2 times stronger than him. So that person doesn't need to condense it to multiply, because they already have a higher level of power in general. But if they do that, they were able to multiply that by 10, which would make it like, 20,000 and stuff like that. So technically, if they used to God Ki, it would increase it or multiply it more. But the only difference is that it can just multiply yours higher, but that doesn't mean that it's above all others, all other regular Ki. If you have higher amount of Ki than regular Ki, then you can surpass it anyway. But once again, that cheapens godly Ki, because it just means that it's a higher multiplier. It doesn't put it on a higher scaling in general. It just means that it multiplies your power more. So once again, regular Ki or God Ki look like it's nothing special, and it doesn't look that much better than regular Ki. But if they wanted to get the rest of the characters to get stronger, they could have just done that. I felt like that was lazy. Also, I felt like, a lot of the, like for example, like Gohan, a lot of the stuff they wrote in this was just illogical. Like first we have them showing up to the fight, right? Krillin is talking with Android 18. Android 18 is like, hey, let me go, I'm stronger than you, you can protect Marion. He's like, no, I have to do it. This one pissed me off. He's like, one, yeah, she's right, she's stronger. We're talking about fighting for the Earth. I get it, he's a man and he wants to be like the guy who protects his family, but come on, man. Think logically. She's way stronger than you. If there's a real threat, wouldn't you put the stronger person there to protect and let the weaker person protect his family? Why are you going out there? You're too fucking weak, dude. Like, they don't need some chump. Get your stronger wife out there. And even if you want to say, well, he wants to do the manly thing. Okay, he wants to do it. But then when he went there, he started acting like a little bitch getting PTSD, which makes no sense because, you know, he's fought bigger threats than Frieza. Yes, Frieza killed him, but, like, he fought against somebody like Cell who kicked him in the neck that basically, like, that could have killed him, and he almost died, and he got hit hard, but he still wasn't terrorized of Cell. He was obviously scared to the dangers he had, but not so scared that he was, you know, traumatized or paralyzed from fear. He's dealt with stronger characters. Yes, Frieza came back stronger, but that wasn't why he was scared. He was just scared of Frieza in general. So he was even so scared of his henchmen, which is like, dude, his henchmen are pathetic. And then when, like, they were attacking and he was able to actually fight back, and, you know, his reflexes were kicking in, he's like, what? And even Master Roshi's like, dude, why are you fucking surprised? Like, you fucking know this. Why are you acting stupid? So I know they're trying to make it like, oh, they're trying to make it, you know, he has a mental struggle. Because a lot of people say that a lot of these characters in Dragon Ball are very simple or they don't have these struggles. What they do, like Vegeta and Piccolo definitely had it, and Gohan had his. Goku even has his own struggle about, you know, wanting to let the Earth be protected, but doesn't want to be the sole protector. He wants to pass it on to the next generation. So they already have that. They don't need to shoehorn some fake mental, like, problem, like, oh, he's too scared and he has to overcome his fears. Like, come on, dude. Even when Krillin is always afraid, he goes up against these big threats, and he's dealt with bigger threats than Frieza's henchmen. So it just makes it look dumb. It seems like they're just trying to make us feel something or sympathy for Krillin and say, hey, look, we're gonna pull at your heartstrings, but it's a cheap, lazy way because he shouldn't be feeling that way since they're just henchmen. And then, like, him surpassing it, that little story arc with him was unnecessary. It was not very insightful or in-depth or clever way of writing. It was just stupid and lazy. It was not necessary. It did the opposite of what the writers trying to do by making it look at how deep this is, his internal conflict with this. It's like, shut up. This doesn't make any sense with what we've seen before. Krillin has never had this level of internal conflict, even when he was scared, against even bigger threats. So it's just dumb. And then Master Roshi coming to the battlefield, I don't like that. I think Chaozu and Yamcha should be stronger than him. The reason that he was able to surpass him by a bit of training, even though in Z he stopped training and he was far surpassed, it makes no sense. And then also the fact that Gohan, when they were talking to him, like, can you fight them? He's like, I think I could go into my Super Saiyan form. So he somehow lost his Mystic form, his Super Saiyan 2 form, and barely could go Super Saiyan 1, didn't even know if he could. He lost definitely way more than half of his power. How did he get so weak? Because the Battle of Gods arc was around a little over half a year, because the state of Vegeta and Goku were training there. Well, Vegeta got there for like 6 months ago, and then Goku came there, and then he was training there for a little bit more with Vegeta, so it was over like half a year. So that means from the time of Battle of Gods to Resurrection of F, only around half a year had passed. Yet somehow Gohan in Battle of Gods had his Mystic form, but now somehow within a little bit over half a year, he lost his Mystic form, he lost his Super Saiyan 2 form, he even almost lost his Super Saiyan 1 form, didn't know if he had it, and lost a considerable amount of power. How? Even if we talk about it, well, it happened in, the Buu Saga, it was 7 years, which was way longer. He still had Super Saiyan 2, which was his most powerful form at that point, and he only lost around like half of his power, or a little more than half of his power, which is a lot, but that was 7 years of not training. Now we have only half a year of not training, and he lost his Mystic form, which is even more powerful, and even easier to use, because for Meldokai he said it would require less than transforming, because transforming puts more strain. So that's an easier form to have. Then he lost Super Saiyan 2, which he didn't even lose in the Buu Saga when he didn't train for 7 years, and now he doesn't even know if he can go Super Saiyan, which is the most basic transformation. So basic, in fact, that even Goten and Trunks could casually go Super Saiyan, yet he's like, I don't know if I can, which is dumb. Then having the red henchman guy and Togoma being a threat, that is dumb. Why are you making his henchman such a threat? That's just shitting on the side characters, saying, look at how weak and pathetic these guys are. That even somebody like, what's his name? Togoma or Frieza's henchman can surpass them by 4 months of training. He can surpass these guys that had multiple years of training, which makes them look like shit now and makes the writing look bad and inconsistent. So as a whole, it was just like, kind of like shit, the ideas that they had. And then, like I said, the additional changes, the only thing they had changed was Togomu being there and then Captain Ginyu showing up, which was dumb, and him taking over, Togoma's body. And then Goten and Trunks showing up as Gotenks, which would have been cool, but all that he did was come for one gag. He hit him in the balls, de-transformed, and then Frieza was just mentioning how Trunks, he noticed that he was the other Trunks that attacked him, but obviously as a kid. So I was like, really? That's the only reason you brought him here, not to do anything, but just to mention that? That's why I felt like it was unnecessary. They didn't have that much changes. If you rewatch the movie and then the arc, you will see that the only changes they had was explaining Frieza's training, Togoma's positioning in this fight, Goku also de-transforming when he got blasted with a laser, which I do like that change at least, but that was the only other change. And then Goten and Trunks being there, and then maybe a bit of dialogue change. But besides that, it's basically the same, the whole movie redone in anime form, which I felt like was pointless and not necessary. Whereas in the Battle of Gods one, at least it was significantly different, or significantly enough compared to the movie. If you watch the movie and the anime, you're like, oh, this is quite different. But if you watch the anime for this arc, you're gonna be like, there's not that much difference between this and that, so it's not necessary. In my opinion, if you're gonna redo it, like I said, you're gonna have to make changes, and if you're gonna make changes, make good changes. They didn't make any changes, barely made any changes, and most of the changes they made were bad, except for one. The only change that I liked was what they did with Goku. The other changes were like Krillin having the PTSD thing was stupid. The whole Goten and Trunks being there just for a gag to hit him in the balls was stupid. Having, Captain Ginyu showing up back, it was dumb. And Togoma's whole positioning was stupid. It was unnecessary in all fronts. Though, talking about the Trunks thingy, the thing about that also kind of annoyed me is we know that the fusion takes 30 minutes. It has a 30-minute time limit, right? And the more power they use, like Super Saiyan 3, it shrinks down to 5 minutes. But they're using Super Saiyan 1, so they should have had the full 30 minutes. How did he de-transform back in a second? Was he wasting 29 minutes and like a couple of seconds just fucking around in his form before he came there? They were able to sense it and they wanted to go over there, and then they were fusing. So were they just fucking around? Because we know they have 30 minutes. Unless the writers forgot that they have 30 minutes, or for some reason these guys wanted to go do something there, but then they were fucking around. We know he should be fast enough to get there far less than 30 minutes. So what happened for him to use up most of the run time just to come in there and headbutt him in the balls? Because if we were being realistic, if they wrote it properly, he should have showed up there within like a second and should have had 30 minutes of time to use his fusion. But now he like de-transformed in with a second. So he must have been wasting it doing something else, but I don't know why. And it was pointless then. But yeah, this arc as a whole was just dumb. Like I said, they didn't change enough for it to be justified to redoing it. Just like the Dragon Ball Superheroes manga arc, I felt like there wasn't enough. Though that had actually a little bit more. This one had like a handful of changes, majority of them bad, one of them good, and that's it. And that's a reason enough to redo this all over again. Come on, this was bad. After watching this, I just wanted to be done. Luckily, it was short arc, so that's positive. It was short, so I was just happy that it was done, so we can get into the more important one that we all want to see, and that's obviously, that's the Universe 6 vs. 7 tournament arc, which I will be getting to that next. But I will need to finish my, power scaling video on the Resurrection of F arc, story arc. Before I get into that, which I'll be working on that in a bit. It will take a few days for me to get that done, so just wait for that. When that one's done, I'm gonna hop right next to the Universe 6 vs. 7 tournament arc, and when I finish that, I'll make another review on that arc, rewatching it, and power scaling that arc too. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next time.